September 10th, 2025. Millions of viewers tuned in to watch Charlie Kirk speak at a university event. Within seconds, the room descended into chaos. Shots rang out, cameras cut abruptly, and viewers witnessed one of the most shocking crimes ever streamed live. Tonight, we break down every detail of what happened that day, what investigators know so far, and the questions that remain unanswered. Before we continue, please hit the subscribe button for more true crime stories. Charlie Kirk's appearance had been promoted for weeks, and by the time the doors opened at 5 p.m., hundreds of people were lined up outside the venue. Attendees went through security checkpoints with metal detectors and bag inspections before being allowed inside. Security guards were stationed near the stage, along the aisles, and at every exit. Inside the hall, the atmosphere was charged with orderly. Students filled the first few rows. Journalists prepared cameras and microphones, and supporters held phones ready to stream clips on social media. At exactly 6 p.m., Charlie Kirk stepped onto the stage to loud applause. He shook hands with the event organizer, adjusted his microphone, and began speaking about current political issues. For more than 10 minutes, everything seemed routine. The crowd listened intently, some clapping and cheering at key points. Then, at precisely 6:12 p.m., a sharp, deafening crack echoed to the hall, followed by several more in quick succession. The sound was so loud that many in the audience initially froze, unsure if it was a technical glitch or an intentional attack. Screams broke out as people realized what was happening. Chairs scraped against the floor as attendees dove for cover. Several members of the security team rushed toward the stage, while others moved to shield the exits. The official live stream briefly captured the confusion, showing Kirk stagger before the feed abruptly cut to black. The live stream captured the exact moment panic set in. Charlie Kirk was mid-sentence when a sudden crack echoed through the auditorium. For a fraction of a second, the audience froze, unsure if the sound was part of the event. Then the second shot rang out louder and clearer, and chaos erupted. The front rows ducked first, people throwing themselves to the floor, shielding their heads with their arms. Some tried to crawl toward the exits, while others screamed for help. The camera on stage jolted as security guards rushed forward, forming a human shield around Kirk. Shouts of "Get down" filled the hall, blending with the sound of chairs tipping over and footsteps pounding toward the doors. The feed stuttered, went to black, and then displayed the event logo, but by then, tens of thousands watching online had already seen enough to know something catastrophic had happened. Within minutes, clips from inside the hall started flooding social media. Attendee phone recordings captured multiple gunshots and the sight of a lone figure standing in the third row, arm outstretched, firing toward the stage before bolting through a side exit. Witnesses later told investigators the shooter was calm and deliberate, wearing dark clothing and a face covering. Several described hearing at least 5 to 6 shots before security could react. Emergency responders arrived within 5 minutes, their sirens audible in the background of the final leaked videos. Paramedics pushed through the crowd, carrying stretchers, while police locked down the campus. Students and audience members were escorted out in groups, their faces pale and shaken. Some were still live streaming as they walked out, narrating what they had just survived. Charlie Kirk was rushed from the scene by paramedics, but despite immediate medical intervention, he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. Emergency room staff later confirmed that the gunshot wounds were fatal before surgery could be attempted. Within minutes, major news outlets cut into regular programming, broadcasting breaking news banners, and replaying the chaotic footage captured on livestream. Social media exploded with posts, photos, and raw video from inside the venue. Hashtags like #CharlieKirk, #LiveAssassination, and #CampusAttack began trending worldwide, with millions of users sharing reactions, theories, and calls for justice. Outside the venue, crowds of stunned attendees gathered, some in tears, others filming live updates for their followers. Within hours, spontaneous vigils formed in multiple cities, including Washington, D.C., Dallas, and Phoenix. People brought flowers, candles, and posters, turning public squares into temporary memorials. Political leaders across the spectrum released statements condemning the assassination. The White House issued an official statement calling the attack an assault on public discourse. Several members of Congress called for a bipartisan investigation into how the attack was allowed to happen. Supporters of Kirk demanded tighter security protocols for political speakers, warning that free speech would be under threat if public events were not safe. Others cautioned against overreaction, arguing that new security laws could be used to silence dissent and restrict protests. Major media outlets ran continuous coverage through the night, with panels of analysts debating the potential political impact. Law enforcement spokespeople urged the public to remain calm and report any suspicious activity, while assuring viewers that every available resource was being used to track the suspect. Within minutes of the shooting, law enforcement locked down the entire campus. Students and staff were ordered to shelter in place, while heavily armed tactical teams swept each building. The FBI joined local police, ATF, and state investigators to form a joint task force. Their first priority: secure the crime scene, collect every piece of ballistic evidence, and recover all shell casings. Forensic teams marked bullet holes, measured trajectories, and photographed the scene from every angle. Investigators quickly recovered the firearm used in the shooting, which had been dropped during the suspect's escape. Using the serial number, they traced the weapon to a licensed gun store in the area. Store records revealed the buyer, but authorities have not released the name publicly. They are now reviewing whether the weapon was purchased legally or through a straw buyer. Digital forensics teams began pulling data from nearby security cameras, door access logs, and cell towers. They are cross-referencing footage to identify anyone who entered or left the building in the hour before the shooting. Facial recognition technology has flagged several persons of interest, though none have been named as suspects. Investigators also issued subpoenas to social media platforms, searching for posts, live streams, or threats made in the days leading up to the event. Analysts are combing through thousands of images and videos posted by audience members to find clearer angles of the shooter's face. One of the most promising leads came from a witness who reported seeing a dark-colored sedan speeding away from the campus minutes after the attack. Traffic cameras captured what appears to be the same vehicle 2 blocks from the venue, but the license plate was partially obscured. Despite these developments, no arrests have been made, and officials have warned that the suspect may still be armed and dangerous. The FBI is offering a reward for information that leads to an arrest. At this stage, the biggest question is motive. Was this the work of a lone gunman seeking personal revenge, or the result of a larger, organized effort to silence Charlie Kirk? Investigators have not ruled out any possibility. Forensic teams are analyzing bullet casings and trajectory patterns to determine exactly where the shots were fired from and whether more than one weapon was used. Multiple eyewitnesses reported seeing a single shooter, but a few claimed they heard shots coming from 2 directions, raising the possibility of a coordinated attack. Security footage from outside the venue shows a figure running into a nearby alley moments after the shooting. Investigators are comparing this footage with phone data and geolocation pings from people near the scene. They are also reviewing campus security logs to understand how the weapon bypassed screening checkpoints, looking into whether the shooter had inside help or exploited a gap in the system. The planning level is also unclear. Early reports suggest a shooter may have attended prior events at the same venue, potentially scouting the layout weeks in advance. Social media posts and online forums are being monitored for any signs of premeditation or extremist connections. For now, no suspect has been named publicly. Law enforcement has released composite sketches based on witness descriptions, but they have not led to an arrest. Officials have emphasized that all leads remain open and urged the public to submit tips if they saw anything unusual before or after the attack. This lack of closure has fueled speculation across media platforms. Some believe this was a politically motivated assassination, while others argue it may have been a personal vendetta that happened to take place on a public stage. Until authorities have confirmed suspect and motive, every angle remains under investigation. This case is still unfolding hour by hour. Investigators have now collected more than 40 witness statements, hundreds of hours of surveillance footage, and several pieces of ballistic evidence. Crime scene technicians continue to work through every frame of video from a venue and surrounding streets, try to map out the shooter's exact movements before and after the attack. Despite these efforts, the prime suspect has not been publicly identified. Authorities are urging anyone with information, no matter how small, to come forward. The FBI has set up a tip line, and local police have increased patrols near schools, universities, and other potential public gathering sites as a precaution. This assassination has sent shockwaves through political circles and raised urgent questions about security at live events. Lawmakers are already calling for hearings to review how a gunman breached security measures at a high-profile gathering that was supposed to be safe. Right now, we are in the middle of an active investigation, and every hour brings new leads and new speculation. Was this politically motivated? Was the suspect working with others? Until the shooter is caught, the public remains on edge. We will continue to monitor this story closely and release updates as soon as verified information becomes available. Subscribe to stay informed because this case is far from over, and what comes next could change the conversation about public safety and free speech across the country.